Hey, so today I'm going to talk to you about converting units, the ones that you do need to know off the top of your head. Now, there's four main things: length, area, mass, and capacity, and I'm going to walk you through each one. I'm going to draw a diagram for each one. The best thing for you to do is draw this diagram and remember it, okay? It's the easiest way to remember. So we're going to start off. The way you're going to draw this diagram, pretty straightforward. So leave a couple lines here. You've got millimeters, you've got centimeters, you've got meters, and you've got kilometers. Okay? So this way, on the arrows on the top, I'm going to show you how to get from kilometers to meters to centimeters to millimeters. And at the bottom, I'll show you how to get this way. Okay? So to get from kilometers to meters, you multiply by 1,000. Okay? To get from meters to centimeters, you multiply by 100. And to get from centimeters to millimeters, you multiply by 10. Okay? So if you're getting from kilometers to millimeters, you can do each step individually as well. Okay? If you're going from meters to millimeters, you multiply by 100, then you multiply by 10. Okay? How about if we're going the other way around? Now, if you're going the other way around, you just do the opposite. Okay? So from millimeters to centimeters, you divide it by 10. From centimeters to meters, you divide it by 100. And from meters to kilometers, you divide it by 1,000. Okay, now these are the most useful diagrams you will learn for unit conversions. Okay, they're very simple, very easy to remember. If you quickly sketch it out and you have a question saying convert this many kilometers to this many millimeters, it's very easy. Okay, now the next thing we're going to have a look at is area. Okay, so for area, again, we've got the same units, just a little bit different. So we've got kilometers squared, we've got meters squared, centimeters squared, and millimeters squared. Okay, now to get from kilometers squared to meters squared, you multiply it by 1,000 squared. Okay, so everything's similar. However, for area, everything is squared. Okay, the difference between length and area is always squared. This will be multiplied by 100 squared. Centimeters squared to millimeters squared, you times it by 10 squared. To get from millimeter squared to centimeter squared, you divide it by 10 squared. Centimeter squared to millimeter squared, divided by 100 squared. And from meter squared to kilometer squared, you divide it by 1,000 squared. Okay? Next thing we're going to have a look at is mass. Okay, mass is like how heavy something is. So your weight, basically. Basically, that's the easiest explanation. I'm going off track. Let's draw out our diagram for mass. Okay, so for this one, we've got a ton. That's the biggest. We've got kilograms, we've got grams, and you've got milligrams. Okay, to get from a ton to a kilogram, you multiply by 1,000 times by 1,000. To get from kilograms to grams, you also multiply by 1,000. And to get from grams to milligrams, you also multiply by 1,000. So these are all just the same, okay? To get from one to another, you multiply by 1,000. The opposite way, from milligrams to grams, divide by 1,000. If you're converting grams to kilograms, divide by 1,000. Kilograms to tons, just divide by 1,000. Okay, that's mass. Last but not least, we've got capacity, okay? Now, with capacity, we've got liters, centiliters, and milliliters, okay? To get from a liter to a centiliter, you multiply by 100. To get from a centiliter to a milliliter, multiply by 10. Opposite direction, to get from milliliters to centiliters, divided by 10. And to get from centiliters to liters, you divide it by 100. Okay? It's got length, area, mass, and capacity. These diagrams will really help you. You won't need all of them in one go. However, when you have got a certain topic, just whip out your diagram, okay? And it will help you convert in your question. Now, one more thing I want to show you about area is you're going to be sometimes asked about hectares. Now, hectares is like if they're describing a huge piece of land, they're going to be talking about hectares, okay? So, for example, if you've got a small park, you're going to say, yep, is that many meters squared by that many meters squared, or that many kilometers squared by that many kilometers squared. However, when you're talking about a big piece of land, you're going to talk about hectares. Now, 1 hectare, and I'll write it at the bottom of the page here. 1 hectare, that's how you spell it, is equal to 10,000 meters squared. Okay? That's how big 1 hectare is. All right. So do try to memorize these. I don't recommend you sitting down and going reading them over and over again. When you're practicing questions, write them out once. When you're practicing questions, keep looking back, keep looking back. Every time you read a question, when you're doing questions at home, you're not in exam conditions, so you can look back at your diagrams when answering the questions. I highly recommend, when you're doing a question, look back at your formulas and read it. Look back at your formulas and answer. Look back, because that will help you memorize it. Okay? Thank you.